I followed my wife on her book club weekend and found her living a full life with another husband and 2 kids. She called me real. I looked her in the eye and said, "You were just a story you told me." Then I closed the door forever. I always thought I knew my wife. That sounds like something people say in movies right before everything goes to hell. But I meant it. Really, truly thought I knew her. I mean, how do you share a bed with someone for 5 years and not see it? It started with a receipt. I found it folded neatly in the front pocket of her pea coat, the one she wears when she goes on her weekend book club getaways. It was from a gas station, no big deal, except it was dated last Saturday, and the location was in a city 3 hours away from where she said she'd be. I stared at that slip of paper for maybe 10 minutes, just blinking. I don't know what I was expecting it to do. Explain itself? I didn't confront her. I didn't even ask. I just slid it back into the coat pocket and pretended I didn't see it. But I couldn't let it go. My mind isn't wired like that. Curiosity isn't just a spark for me, it's gasoline. And this little receipt was a lit match. The next weekend, she left again. Same book club excuse, same overnight bag, same tight hug and peck on the cheek like nothing was wrong. She smelled like lavender and betrayal. An hour after she left, I grabbed my keys. The address on the receipt was a gas station in a town called Fairbridge. I'd never heard of it before, but GPS knew the way. 2 hours and 40 minutes later, I was parked across the street from a row of tidy suburban houses. Cookie-cutter places with trimmed hedges and identical mailboxes. And there it was. A white house with pale blue shutters. Blue door. Wind chimes on the porch. My wife stepped out. She was wearing different clothes now, not her travel outfit. She had on jeans, sneakers, and a loose sweater I'd never seen before. Her hair was tied back. She looked casual. Comfortable. Domestic. And she wasn't alone. A man came out behind her. Tall, scruffy, wearing sweatpants and a hoodie. He wrapped an arm around her waist and kissed the side of her head. Then 2 kids came barreling out of the door, maybe 6 and 8. One of them shouted, "Mom! You forgot my lunchbox!" Mom! My hands were shaking. I sat frozen in my car across the street, watching the scene play out like a bad sitcom. She laughed, turned back inside, and returned with a little purple lunchbox. The man rubbed her shoulder. The dog, a golden retriever, barked at the kids from the yard. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just sat there, blinking, numb. It wasn't even anger yet. It was confusion so deep it felt like drowning. Who was she? Who was I to her? It hit me slowly, like blood soaking through fabric. She wasn't cheating on me. I was the affair. I was the secret. The drive back home was a blur. I don't even remember turning the ignition. I just remember the sick, hollow feeling in my gut, like I'd swallowed something poisonous and it was leaking into my bloodstream. I stopped twice on the highway to puke. Couldn't keep water down. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her in that other life, smiling, laughing, carrying that little lunchbox like she belonged there. Because she did. When I got home, the silence felt sharper. The walls of our apartment, once warm and familiar, suddenly looked like a hotel room. Temporary. Borrowed. I sat on the edge of our bed and looked at the framed photo on the nightstand, us at the lake, arms around each other, sunburnt and stupid with joy. I wanted to throw it. Instead, I turned it face down and stared at the wall for 2 hours. She came home the next evening. Smelled like hotel soap and peppermint gum. She kissed my cheek and asked how my weekend was. I told her I watched a documentary about sharks. She laughed and said, "Of course you did." She had no idea. And I realized, right then, I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. I needed to know more. That night, while she showered, I unlocked her laptop. I knew the password, her dead dog's name, followed by our wedding date. She used Chrome like most people. Her autofill history gave me everything, the alternate email address, her grocery store rewards account tied to that other zip code, the Amazon order sent to a different name entirely. Emily Stone. That was her name there. A different surname, different identity. She wasn't just living a double life. She was playing a whole new character. I started building a file. Dates, addresses, photos, receipts, even browser history. I bought a burner phone and used it only to catalog this mess. I took screenshots, recorded audio clips when she made phone calls in the other room. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it all yet. But I knew I needed proof. Not for her. For me. To remind myself I wasn't crazy. Because some days, I still wanted to believe it was a misunderstanding. But it wasn't. And deep down, I think she was daring me to find out. A part of her wanted to be caught. People like her always think they're too clever to be held accountable. I was going to prove her wrong. And when I did, I wouldn't yell. I wouldn't beg. I'd burn it all down quietly. Just like she did to me. The days that followed blurred together in slow-motion agony. I still cooked dinner. Still kissed her goodnight. Still asked about her day and pretended to care. And every night, when she drifted off to sleep beside me, I would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering which version of her was real. The woman with her legs tangled in mine, or the one whose kids called her mom 3 towns over. I started going for late-night drives, saying I couldn't sleep, pretending I needed air. In truth, I would sit in the car, rereading every message, every receipt, watching her other life unfold like a slow-developing nightmare. The burner phone filled up fast. I got a second one. Then a third. She was careless with her secrets, as if she believed no one could ever possibly connect the dots. But I was connecting them all. And soon, I would paint her a masterpiece. A truth she couldn't ignore. A truth she couldn't explain away. It was a Friday when I finally decided to follow her. Not just trail her movements on a screen or dig through her digital breadcrumbs. I mean physically follow her. Face to face with the version of her that existed without me. She was getting ready in the mirror, humming, light bouncing off the gold chain around her neck. The one I bought her 2 anniversaries ago. She kissed my forehead like she always did before a book club trip and told me not to wait up. I said, "Drive safe." My hands were already shaking before she closed the door. I gave her a 20-minute head start, then grabbed my backpack, stuffed with water, snacks, a charger, and a camera. My phone already had a fresh battery, burner phones charged and ready. I even brought a second set of clothes in case things got complicated. She took the highway. So did I. I kept my distance, 3 or 4 cars behind. The benefit of driving a beat-up Honda is you look like every other poor soul on the road. Nothing special. She didn't notice me. I stayed far enough back to avoid suspicion but close enough to track every turn. And just like that, 3 hours later, she pulled into the same neighborhood. The blue door. The wind chimes. The same dog barking behind the fence. I parked 3 houses down, slipped my hoodie up, and started walking. Through the living room window, I saw them. All of them. She was helping one of the kids with what looked like a school project on the dining table. Glue, glitter, cardboard. The man, her other husband, was washing dishes. They looked like an actual family. I stood across the street for an hour. No movement. No drama. Just normal life. A normal life I was never part of. Eventually, they went upstairs. Lights turned off. House dimmed into quiet. I crossed the street like a ghost, heart pounding. I walked past the house, close enough to smell the dryer sheet scent coming from the vents. Then I left. Not because I was afraid of being caught. I left because I had what I needed, the certainty that this wasn't some weird misunderstanding or side fling. This was her real life. And I was the detour. That night, I slept in my car on the edge of town. Didn't want to go home. Couldn't stomach lying next to her again. I stared up through the windshield and tried to remember the last time I felt loved. I couldn't. The next morning, I drove straight to an old friend's house. Brandon. We hadn't talked much since I got married. She never liked him. Said he was too blunt. Which, in hindsight, was probably why I should have kept him around. He took one look at me and didn't ask a single question. Just opened the door and said, "Spare room's yours." I spent the weekend laying low. Planning. Sorting through everything I gathered. Because the time for watching was almost over. It was nearly time to act. Back at Brandon's place, I spent every minute I wasn't pretending to sleep staring at my laptop, scrolling through everything I'd collected. My burner phones were full of screenshots, call logs, photos, even one video where she told the man, her other husband, to pick up the kids from school, as if that was normal. As if I didn't exist. Brandon kept asking if I wanted to talk, but I couldn't. Not yet. I needed silence. I needed control. So I planned. Step 1 was simple, I needed more access. If she had an entire life under a different name, there had to be official records. I called in a favor from an old college friend who worked at a real estate office. Gave him Emily Stone's name, the Fairbridge address, and a few creative lies about being her cousin trying to help her settle a family estate. 10 hours later, he sent me an email, mortgage documents, home ownership records, school enrollment data for the kids. She used a fake maiden name but listed the same birthday as on her driver's license. The paper trail was undeniable. She wasn't just cheating. She was legally tied to that life. She had a husband, kids, a mortgage, and a PTA membership. Everything she denied wanting with me, she had built somewhere else. So I built something too. A presentation. Not for her, but for the man who thought she was his wife. I bought a fresh burner phone, created a new Gmail, and titled the email "You Deserve to Know." I kept it short. I'm sorry to deliver this like this, but the woman you're married to is not who you think she is. Attached is everything you'll need to understand. If you want more information, reach out. I won't blame you if you don't. I included 3 PDFs. One with side-by-side photos of her as my wife and as his. One with timestamped screenshots, proof of dates she was with me while she claimed to be with him. And one with the documentation my real estate contact had dug up. I hit send at 2:07 a.m. Then I turned off the phone and tossed it into a storm drain. I wanted no trail. No return. No messy confrontation. Just the truth, delivered cold and clean. Then I waited. Nothing happened for a day. Then 2. Then, on the 3rd morning, she texted me like normal. "Morning, babe. Picked up some croissants from that bakery you like. Home by 6. Like nothing had happened. But that evening, she didn't come home. I waited until midnight. No call. No explanation. I wasn't surprised. Because I knew what was happening now. I knew the collapse had begun. And I wasn't going to stop it. I was going to feed it. Brandon poured me a glass of whiskey and asked, "You ready to burn it all down yet?" I took a sip. Almost. The silence was louder than any argument. She didn't come home for 2 days. No calls. No texts. No fake excuses. I didn't reach out. I didn't need to. I knew what was happening. The other husband, her real husband, had received the email. The truth had arrived like a pipe bomb in their quiet suburban kitchen. And now, the fallout had begun. On the 3rd morning, she finally called. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice was strained, tired. Not the cheerful, chirpy tone she used to use. "Hey, something's happened. I need to talk to you. Can you call me back? Please?" I didn't. 2 hours later, she showed up at the apartment. I knew she would eventually. I watched from my car parked half a block down. She looked wrecked. No makeup. Hoodie. Hair tied in a messy bun. She knocked. Waited. Called my phone. Knocked again. I stayed put. Eventually, she left. And that's when the text started. "Please, we need to talk. I know you know. Please, Atlas." I'm sorry. I didn't respond. Not because I was trying to be cruel. But because I wanted her to feel the weight of the void she'd created. That evening, Brandon and I cracked open beers and watched a game neither of us cared about. He said, "You think she'll show up again?" I said, "She's unraveling. She won't stop until she gets to the bottom." And I was right. The next day, she sent a longer message. "He knows everything. He threw me out. The kids, they don't understand. I messed up. I should have ended it a long time ago, but I didn't know how. I was living 2 lives and I convinced myself I could keep both. You were never a backup, Atlas. You were real. I swear you were real." I stared at that message for a long time. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something close to rage. Not for the betrayal. Not even for the lies. But for the audacity of her trying to rewrite the story now. She called me real when she was living a lie. So I replied. One message. I was real. You weren't. After that, I blocked her number. It was almost over. But not quite. Because I still hadn't decided how I wanted it to end. Revenge isn't just about the explosion. It's about what you do while the dust settles. The next few days passed in this eerie kind of limbo. My phone was quiet for once. I didn't realize how much noise she brought into my life until the silence settled in. It was like living in the eye of a storm that had already passed but left behind a wreckage I still needed to sort through. Brandon tried to pull me out of the funk by inviting me out. We hit a bar, shot pool, drank whiskey, and for a couple of hours, I felt human again. But the minute I got back to his place, the numbness crept back in. She'd shattered something in me. Something fragile that I hadn't realized I depended on. I kept rereading the message she'd sent. You were real. I swear you were real. What kind of person says that after constructing an entire lie? That line spun in my head like a carousel of shame and fury. It wasn't guilt she felt, it was desperation. She didn't want to lose her backup plan. Me. And now, she had. But she still didn't understand that I was no longer interested in being an option. I was ready to be the consequence. Brandon was the one who said it first, "You should tell your story." At first, I thought he meant to the cops or a lawyer. But he didn't. He meant her husband. The other man. The one she lied to, just like she lied to me. "He deserves the full truth," Brandon said, "not just the cold email. Not just the PDFs. He deserves to know the way it felt." Something in me stirred at the idea. I wasn't doing this for revenge. Not anymore. I was doing this to reclaim my own version of the truth, the one she tried to overwrite. So I went back to Fairbridge. I didn't park across the street this time. I parked right in front. No hoodie. No hiding. I wore a black pea coat, clean jeans, and the boots she once called too dramatic. He answered the door. His face shifted from confusion to recognition to dread. I could see it hit him. The kind of horror you don't say out loud. "Can we talk?" I asked. He didn't speak. Just stepped aside. The living room was smaller than I remembered. No toys. No kids. A candle burned on the table. Vanilla. Wind chimes outside rattled lazily in the breeze. "She told me everything," he said. "Eventually. After I showed her the email." "Did she tell you why?" "She said she felt split in half. Like she was addicted to the lie. Like she was chasing a feeling she couldn't find in one life." I nodded. "That sounds like her." He offered a drink. I declined. Pulled out the folder I'd brought. Hard copies. Dates. Photos. Cross timelines. Tangible proof. "This is what she gave me while she was giving you everything else." He flipped through it slowly. I watched his hands tremble with each turn of the page. "She made me feel like I was her home," he whispered. "Same here." We sat in silence. The kind that settles between two people grieving the same person, in completely different ways. Eventually, he asked, "Did you love her?" I thought about it. The smiles. The late-night talks. The little rituals. The lies wrapped in tenderness. I loved the version she made for me. I don't think I ever met the real one. He nodded. Me neither. Then he said, "She tried to say it was your fault. That you knew and manipulated her." Of course she did. Lies don't stop when the story ends. They echo. She'll say anything to avoid the truth. But she can't run from it anymore. I left shortly after. I didn't need to burn her life down. She did that on her own. I just handed over the last match. Back at Brandon's, I slept through the night. No tossing. No dread. In the morning, I packed my bag. Tossed the old chargers, deleted the burner phones, and closed the folder for good. I didn't need the evidence anymore. I didn't need the past weighing on me. Time to go home. Not to her. Home to myself. And for once, that felt like enough. It felt strange walking back into the apartment. Everything was exactly how I'd left it, a museum of the lie I used to live in. Her sweater still hung on the chair. A pair of earrings lay forgotten on the bathroom sink. One of her shoes had fallen sideways near the door, like it had given up halfway through the performance. But the air felt different. Lighter. I wasn't here to reclaim anything. I was here to erase her. I moved from room to room, packing up what was mine. Slowly, methodically. No rage. No tears. Just clarity. I boxed up my books, my records, the few clothes that still smelled like something other than her. The apartment echoed more with each hour, like even the walls were relieved. By nightfall, it was done. I sat in the center of the now bare living room with a beer in one hand and Banjo, Brandon's dog, sleeping at my feet. He'd taken a liking to me lately, like he sensed I needed something loyal nearby. The front door opened. She stepped inside like a shadow trying to sneak back into the past. Her face was drawn, lips cracked, eyes rimmed with sleeplessness. She looked at the emptiness, then at me. "You're leaving," she said. "I already left. This is just cleanup." She didn't cry. Maybe she knew it wouldn't work anymore. Maybe she was too tired. She stepped forward, holding something in her hand. "My wedding ring. You left this in the drawer." I looked at it. Then her. Then back at the ring. "That belongs to the man I used to be." She set it on the table, quietly. "I wanted to say sorry," she whispered. "You did. 12 times. In 12 ways. But none of them were for me. They were for your guilt. Silence again. She nodded. Are you going to tell people? I don't have to. The truth doesn't need a narrator. It speaks for itself. She stood there a moment longer, then turned and walked out without another word. No dramatic monologue. No please. Just, gone. I stayed there until the sun started to rise, painting golden lines across the floor. It was over. But more than that, it had finally begun. 2 months later, I moved to a different city. Smaller. Quieter. I rented a little place with creaky floors and good light. Started freelancing again. Bought new furniture. Banjo came with me permanently. Brandon said the dog chose me. Sometimes, I get texts from mutual friends asking what happened. I never answer. Not because I want to protect her. But because I don't need to relive it. The version of me who needed answers? He's gone. I don't live in the ruins anymore. I live in what I built after.